She said her ex was out of the picture. She never told me he still had the keys. I don't know who needs to hear this, but sometimes the biggest red flags aren't the ones you see. They're the ones you feel and ignore anyway. My name isn't important. I'm a 29-year-old guy, and this is the story of how I fell in love with someone I never truly knew. Her name was Lila. Beautiful, soft-spoken, kind in a way that felt rare. She smelled like vanilla and jasmine. She laughed like she was trying not to be heard. A quiet girl with a bright smile. In shadows she pretended not to notice. She told me she had an ex. Nothing serious, she said. It ended a long time ago. I believed her. I shouldn't have. About 2 months into dating, I started noticing small things. Lila flinched whenever her phone buzzed. She always kept the screen facing down. Sometimes she stared at her messages for minutes without touching the phone, as if she was afraid to open them. One night, while we were watching a movie, she froze. Her phone lit up with a notification. I didn't see the message, but I saw the name. Evan. Her ex. Her face drained of color. She excused herself and took the call in the hallway. Her voice was quiet at first, then sharp, then desperate. I wasn't supposed to hear it, but I did. Please, you promised. No, I can't do that anymore. You said you deleted them. Evan, stop. Just stop. When she returned, her eyes were red, but she forced a smile. Just family stuff, she said. I didn't call her out. Looking back, that was my second mistake. The first was falling in love with her too fast. About 2 months into dating, I started noticing small things. Lila flinched whenever her phone buzzed. She always kept the screen facing down. Sometimes she'd stare at her messages for minutes without touching her phone, as if afraid to open them. One night, while we were watching a movie, she froze completely. Her phone lit up with a notification. I didn't see the message, but I saw the name. Evan. Her ex. Her face drained of color. She excused herself and took the call in the hallway. Her voice was quiet at first, then sharp, then desperate. I wasn't supposed to hear it, but I did. Please. You promised. No, I can't do that anymore. You said you deleted them. Evan, stop. Just stop. When she returned, her eyes were red, but she smiled like nothing happened. Just family stuff, she said. I didn't call her out. Looking back, that was my second mistake. The first was falling in love with her too fast to see the danger. About a week later, we were lying in bed. Lila was asleep on my chest when I heard a noise downstairs. A door, a soft click, a slow creak, like someone entering quietly, too quietly. I slipped out of bed and walked downstairs. And I saw him. A man stood in the middle of the living room, holding a set of keys. He wasn't breaking in. He wasn't hiding. He was just standing there, like he belonged. He looked up at me with a cold, casual stare. You shouldn't be here, he said. My heart slammed against my ribs. Who the hell are you? He smirked. Funny, Lila used to say the same to me. That's when I understood who he was. Evan, the ex who was out of the picture. The ex she swore she blocked. The ex who didn't matter. But he wasn't out of the picture. He was standing in her house with keys she never told me he still had. Before I could yell for Lila, Evan stepped closer. You should leave, he said. Trust me, you don't want to know what she's capable of. I didn't know what he meant, but the way he said it made my skin crawl. I grabbed my phone to call the police, but he laughed. She won't let you. She never lets anyone call for help. And then Lila appeared in the doorway, half asleep, unfocused, until she saw him. Her face fell apart. "Evan, please, not tonight." He stared at her with ownership in his eyes. "We're not done," he said. "You promised me something." Lila shook her head violently. "That was before. I'm not doing this anymore." The tension in the room thickened. I stepped in front of her. "Get out." He smirked again and walked past me. As he left, he whispered, "She never told you, did she?" Then he was gone. Lila collapsed onto the floor, shaking. I held her, trying to understand, trying to piece together a version of her I had never seen before. She cried into my chest, trembling. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I didn't want you to know. I didn't want you to see this part of me." "What part?" I asked. And she told me. Evan wasn't just her ex. He was a man who controlled her for years, manipulated her, threatened her, used secrets against her. And the worst part? She had done things for him, things she regretted, things she had never forgiven herself for. She tried therapy. She tried moving. She tried changing her number. But Evan always found her. "Why didn't you tell me?" I asked. She looked at me with a broken smile. "Because people leave when they see the real me." That night, I realized something painful. Lila wasn't lying to hurt me. She lied because she believed the truth would make me leave too. Evan still had her house keys. He still had her secrets. He still had control over her life. I didn't know what to do. Call the police. Move her out. Confront him. All I knew was one thing. I wasn't going to abandon her in the middle of the storm. Not like everyone else. Not like Evan expected. I wasn't leaving. Not tonight. Not anymore. The night after Evan appeared in Lila's house, sleep became impossible. Not because I didn't feel safe, though that was part of it, but because nothing made sense anymore. Lila's fear, Evan's confidence, his words, "You don't want to know what she's capable of." They replayed in my head on a loop. Lila stayed at my place that night. Not because she asked. I insisted. She didn't argue. She just sat quietly in the passenger seat, staring out the window like the night sky was swallowing her. Once we got home, she wrapped herself in one of my hoodies and sat on the far edge of the couch, knees pulled to her chest. I wanted to sit next to her. I wanted to hold her, but I could tell she needed space. Not distance, just room to breathe. After a long silence, she whispered, "He's not going to stop." My stomach tightened. "What do you mean?" Her eyes didn't move from the floor. "Evan doesn't care who I'm with. He doesn't care where I go. He doesn't care how many times I tell him no. The only thing he cares about is control. And once he loses it..." She swallowed hard. "He gets worse." I hated how small her voice sounded, how defeated. "Lila," I said gently, "you're not alone in this. I'm here." She shook her head. "You don't understand. You're not supposed to be part of this. I didn't want you dragged into..." A sharp knock on my door cut her off. 3 knocks. Slow. Deliberate. Lila froze. Her breath caught in her throat. "No," she whispered. "Not here." I stood up, heart racing. It was almost midnight. No one should be knocking. I walked to the door, but before I could look through the peephole, I heard a voice on the other side. A man's voice. Calm. Patient. Familiar. "Open up, Ethan." It was Evan. My pulse hammered so loud it felt like it echoed through the room. Lila slid off the couch and hid behind the kitchen counter, trembling. "Don't let him in," she mouthed silently. I didn't plan to. I stood still, forcing my breath to stay quiet as Evan knocked again. 3 slow, rhythmic taps. "I just want to talk," he said. His voice was too calm, like he was smiling. I didn't answer. After a moment, he chuckled. "You think not answering is going to help?" Another pause. "You don't know what she's capable of, Ethan. You should ask her about the cabin." "The cabin?" I looked toward Lila. Her face went pale, her eyes wide with panic. She shook her head violently. "No, no, no, no. He's lying," she whispered. But the way she said it made my stomach drop. It wasn't the voice of someone denying a lie. It was the voice of someone begging reality to stay buried. Evan continued speaking through the door, like he knew exactly how to break her. "Ask her what happened 3 years ago," he said softly. "Ask her about the girl she replaced." I felt my throat tighten. "Get away from the door, Evan," I finally said. Silence. Then a faint laugh. "You're already choosing sides. Good. That makes this easier." I heard his footsteps slowly fade, like he was strolling through a park, not leaving a threat on my doorstep. After a full minute of silence, Lila whispered, "He knows where you live now." I walked to her and crouched down. "Lila, what cabin is he talking about?" But she shook her head, tears spilling down her cheeks. "I can't tell you. If I tell you, you'll never look at me the same way." I took a deep breath. "Lila, whatever happened?" "No," she said, covering her face. "You don't understand. It wasn't just him. I wasn't just a victim." My chest tightened. "What are you saying?" She lowered her hands and looked at me with eyes that no longer belonged to the girl I fell in love with. They belonged to someone haunted. "There's something you need to know," she whispered. "Something about that cabin and about the last person who tried to save me." Lila didn't speak for nearly a full minute. She just stared at the floor, shaking, like she was trying to hold herself together one breath at a time. Finally, she whispered, "I never wanted you to know about the cabin." I kept my voice calm, steady. "What happened there?" She squeezed her eyes shut. "That's where he broke me," she said softly. "Where everything started, and where I helped him do something terrible." My skin prickled. The room felt colder. "Lila, did he hurt you there?" She nodded slowly. "He isolated me, made me depend on him, told me no one else would ever care about someone as damaged as me. He kept me there for weeks at a time, off and on. No phone, no contact with anyone, just him and his rules." My chest tightened painfully. I wanted to hold her, but she flinched whenever I moved. "There was a girl," she continued. "A younger one, 17. She ran away from home. Evan found her on some forum, and he told me she just needed guidance. Someone to talk to, someone who understood what it meant to be broken." I felt a cold knot in my stomach. "Lila, what did you do?" She swallowed hard. "He made me talk to her, made me tell her she'd be safe with him, that he wasn't like the people she was running from." Her lip trembled. "I didn't know what he was planning. I swear to you, I didn't know. I thought she just needed a place to stay." "And then?" I asked quietly. "She stayed at the cabin," Lila whispered, "for 3 days. And then she disappeared." The room went dead silent. Every muscle in my body went rigid. "What do you mean, disappeared?" Lila shook her head violently. "I don't know. I don't know what he did to her. He just told me she was gone, and that it was my fault for convincing her to come. I begged him to tell me where she went, but he just said I needed to be more careful with the next one." My throat tightened. "Next one? Lila." She covered her face with her hands. "There were 2 more. I talked to them, I didn't know. I didn't know what he was doing. He never let them see me. I only spoke to them online. And after they came to the cabin, they were just gone. She looked at me with hollow, broken eyes. I was part of it. I didn't mean to be, but I was. And when I finally realized what he was, I tried to leave. But he said he'd tell everyone what I'd done. He said no one would ever believe I didn't know. My breath trembled. And he's been blackmailing you ever since. She nodded. With photos, videos, messages, everything. I finally understood the message she got weeks earlier. Did you delete the photos? I finally understood why she panicked every time her phone buzzed. And I finally understood why Evan felt untouchable. He wasn't just her ex. He was her captor, her manipulator, and the keeper of her guilt. But there was something she still hadn't told me. What did he mean? I asked carefully. When he said you replaced someone. Lila froze. Her breathing changed. Shallow. Shaking. She didn't look at me. She couldn't. That girl, she whispered. The 17-year-old. I leaned in. What about her? Lila closed her eyes. She wasn't just some runaway. Her voice cracked. She was someone you knew. My blood turned cold. What are you talking about? She hesitated, then whispered the name. A name from my past. A neighbor. A girl who disappeared when I was 15. A girl whose missing posters covered every street lamp in our neighborhood. And then everything inside me shattered as Lila whispered, she was your sister's best friend. My mind splintered. No, I said quietly. That's not possible. She disappeared years ago. The police never found anything, Lila whispered, because Evan wasn't leaving anything to find. I felt dizzy, like the room was tilting under me. You're telling me, I said slowly, that the cabin. She interrupted softly. She was the first one I ever talked to online, the first person he told me to help. I didn't know who she was. I didn't know she was connected to you. Not until later. Not until he forced me to watch. She choked on the words and looked away. I grabbed her shoulders gently. What did he make you watch? She shook her head violently. I can't say it. I can't. You'll hate me. You'll never forgive me. I need to know, I said firmly. Lila, this isn't just about you anymore. She met my eyes, tears streaming down her face. He showed me a video, she whispered. Not of what he did, just of her sitting in the cabin, crying, begging to go home, asking where her parents were. Her voice collapsed. And I did nothing. Something in my chest cracked open. Grief, rage, horror, all mixing together into something I couldn't name. I stood up and walked away for a moment, trying to breathe, trying to steady myself, trying not to break. Lila sobbed into her hands. I never wanted to hurt anyone, she cried. I was a kid. I didn't understand. I didn't know what he was. But he said if I didn't help him, he'd kill my mother. He said he'd make it look like my fault. I was terrified, Ethan. I was so terrified. I turned back toward her slowly. You're telling me Evan is responsible for her disappearance? She nodded weakly. And you never told the police? She stared at me with empty, defeated eyes. He said he would release everything. The messages. The recordings. That they'd think I helped him willingly. That I'd go to prison. And maybe he's right. Maybe I deserve it. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to process the fact that the woman I loved, the woman I swore to protect, had unknowingly lured someone connected to my past into the hands of a monster. I didn't know what to feel. Anger, horror, compassion. All three crashed inside me like a storm. Lila whispered, "Please don't leave me. Not after this. You're all I have left." But I couldn't answer. Not yet. Not after what I had just learned. Not after realizing that Evan hadn't just destroyed her life. He had destroyed mine too. I didn't sleep that night. Not even for a minute. I sat in the living room while Lila lay curled on the couch, finally exhausted enough to pass out. I watched her breathing, slow, shaky, and tried to understand how the girl I loved had become tied to the darkest part of my past. Evan wasn't just a manipulator, not just a controller, not just an abuser. He was a predator, a ghost in people's lives, a man who disappeared girls, including someone who was practically family to me. And Lila had been a piece in his trap, even if she didn't know it at first, even if she was scared, even if she was forced. I couldn't erase the truth. When the sun rose, Lila opened her eyes slowly. She looked at me as if waiting for a sentence to be spoken. "Ethan," she whispered, "please say something." But I didn't know what to say. "Lila," I finally said, "I need to understand everything. From the beginning." She sat up, hugging herself. "He found me when I was 17, she said quietly. "My mom was sick. We had no money. He offered me help, a place to stay, food, protection. I didn't realize what he wanted in return until it was too late." Her voice trembled. "For years, I tried to leave. Every time, he threatened me. Every time, he made me do something worse. Every time, he reminded me of the girls. Reminded me it was my fault they trusted him." She looked at me with broken desperation. "When I met you, I thought maybe I could finally be someone good, someone new. But Evan wasn't gone. He was never gone." I nodded slowly, my throat tight. "And the girl, my sister's friend. Why didn't you tell me when you realized who she was?" Lila's face twisted with shame. "Because I was afraid you'd kill him," she whispered, "and then everything would fall on us. I didn't want you to lose your life too." I stood up. "No. You were afraid I'd leave." She didn't deny it. I walked into the kitchen and splashed cold water on my face, trying to think, trying not to collapse under the weight of everything. But then something happened that forced the decision for me. My phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. When I opened it, my stomach turned to ice. A video file. From Evan. I pressed play. It was Lila, sitting on the couch, sleeping peacefully. The video was recorded last night, while she was in my house. A chill ran through my entire spine. He had been inside my home, watching us, recording her, recording me. Another message followed. "You can't protect her. She'll ruin you the way she ruined them. Meet me at the cabin if you want the truth." Lila saw the look on my face and rushed toward me. "What happened? Ethan, what did he send?" I didn't answer. I couldn't. Because in that moment, one truth became painfully clear. This wouldn't end unless I ended it. The drive to the cabin felt unreal. Like I'd stepped into a version of my life I didn't recognize. Trees blurred past the windows. The sky looked gray and heavy, as if the world itself knew something terrible was coming. I told Lila she couldn't come. She begged me, sobbed, grabbed my arm. But I couldn't risk her being there. Not again. I left her with a friend miles away, locked in a house she couldn't escape from easily. She screamed my name as I walked out. She didn't understand. This wasn't about saving her anymore. It was about stopping him. When I reached the cabin, I saw his car parked outside. The same old beat-up sedan I remembered clearly from Lila's story. The front door was cracked open. Inside, the air was stale and cold, but not empty. He was sitting in a chair at the center of the room, calm, relaxed, legs crossed, like he'd been waiting for a guest. "Ethan," he said, smiling faintly, "I knew you'd come. You're predictable like that." I clenched my fists. "What did you do to her? To the others? Where are they?" He shrugged. "Some questions don't have answers you'd like. I want the truth." "You already know the truth," he said. "You just want someone to blame." My voice shook with rage. "I blame you." He leaned forward slightly. "You should blame Lila." That broke something in me. "Don't say her name." He continued anyway, unbothered. "She brought them here. She convinced them. She made them trust me. She helped me more than anyone ever has." I felt bile rise in my throat. "She was a child," I said. "You manipulated her." He nodded thoughtfully. "Yes, and you're easy to manipulate too." He stood up slowly and walked toward me. "People like Lila and you're the same," he said softly. "Drawn to broken things, drawn to guilt, drawn to pain. That's why you ended up together." He leaned close enough that I could feel his breath. "And it's why you'll never let her go." Something snapped inside me. I lunged. We crashed into the wall. The chair fell over. His elbow struck my face. My knee slammed into his ribs. He grabbed a shard of broken wood and swung it toward my neck. I caught his wrist and twisted hard. We struggled violently, knocking over furniture, smashing into walls. He was stronger than he looked, fueled by something cold and monstrous. At one moment, he pinned me to the ground and whispered, "You can't save her. She'll never escape what she did, and neither will you." I roared and forced him off me with every ounce of strength I had left. And then, a gunshot. Evan fell forward. Behind him stood Lila. Her hands were shaking around the gun, tears running down her face, her whole body trembling. "Don't touch him," she whispered. I stared at her in shock. "You weren't supposed to be here." "I couldn't let you die," she said. "Not because of me." Evan lay on the ground, still breathing, barely, his eyes wide with something between hatred and disbelief. I went to Lila, gently lowering her trembling hands. "It's over," I said. "No," she whispered. "It's never over. Not for people like me." I held her tightly. "For people like us," I said quietly. "We face it together." The police arrived 40 minutes later. Evan survived the gunshot, just long enough to confess everything. Every girl, every threat, every manipulation, and Lila's role. Unwilling, terrified, controlled. She wasn't charged, not after everything he admitted. But the truth didn't free her. Not really. Healing takes longer than justice. Some wounds never fully close, but we're trying. One day at a time, one breath at a time, and sometimes, on the good days, she actually smiles like she used to.